two, one. Happy New Year, everybody. I'm your host, Stephanie Caston, and this is Rē-Kast. Today, we have a special episode. This is going to be an actor's episode. This is the first time me filming this one, and our focus is on Morgan Freeman. I have guest SAG actor Roosevelt Booker join us today to give his analysis and intake on fellow SAG actor Morgan Freeman. So, Roosevelt, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Stephanie. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm adjusting. Like I said, my viewers, I moved back from LA to Chicago, so it's all about adjusting. So yeah, that's what it's been like. But I'm ready to get started. Just to start off, what did you think of this episode? I mean, what did you think of the films of Morgan Freeman? What were your thoughts?
Morgan Freeman always had a strong performance in everything he does, man. I love him. I mean, because I never really considered him, when you look at like Bucket List and Red, I never really considered him in that type of light in his early stages of his career, but he showed his range and he has comedic abilities in his craft. So, I mean, I love Morgan Freeman. I mean, Lean on Me, everybody loves Lean on Me, so.
Yeah, exactly. And for our viewers today, typically I do 2 films and 2 TV shows, old and new, but today I switched it up because of the acting episode. I couldn't really find much TV shows that I thought would be, great, but I did 4 genres. I did genres, drama, thriller, comedy, and action. So today we'll be discussing Lean on Me, Seven, The Bucket List, and Red. Now, if you guys could see my screen, I wanted to kind of already tie everything together. So it's ironic that Morgan Freeman is always playing God or some mystical character. So in The Bucket List, he's discussing religion with Jack Nicholson. And then even on Lean on Me, he talks about what God says to him. I thought that was very interesting to tie that together. And then I also thought it was interesting in the Seven, they talked about the divine comedy of what is his name, Dante, going into the realms of hell, and then Jack Nicholson talks about it in The Bucket List. So I like how all these movies are slightly connected. Did you notice anything like that?
I didn't openly notice that. I'm not going to lie to you, but he does have a lot of like religious, well, I wouldn't say religious. I would just say God references in his films and characters.
Yeah. But let's go ahead and let's get started. The first film is Lean on Me, written by John Avildsen. Forgive me if I pronounced it wrong. Directed by Michael Schiffer. Came out in 1989. Stars, of course, Morgan Freeman, Robert Guillaume, I probably said that one wrong, and Beverly Todd. Cameos by Chris from The Sopranos. You can tell that's him right there. And then Tony Todd, which is Candyman. Like, everyone who's from Chicago probably seen Candyman. And then Karen White. You may know Karen White down here from The Cosby Show and The Different World and Malcolm and Eddie from early 90s. And then it's been nominated for 5 nominations, 4 wins, including an Image Award for Outstanding Actor and Motion Picture. Honestly, I think that this movie was kind of snubbed. I love this movie so much. I think it should have gotten more praise. Like, what do you think? What do you think when it comes to the awards? What are your thoughts?
It definitely deserved more accolades than what it received. But we do got to speak in the midst of the times. You got to, like, in those times, yeah, we heard about the poverty in the inner cities and the African American communities or brown communities, but I mean, it wasn't as popular per se with the viewers, and to I believe make any traction in 1989, So I think
don't know, because I want to know how they felt that way with Stand By Me.
Stand By Me is a whole different demographic, though. Stand By Me, you got
because it's Hispanic.
Yeah, I mean, and it's it's not that I I mean, this might be off topic a little bit, but I believe that no matter what the color tone, even if you're Hispanic, Latino, the darker you are in those
Mm,
times, in those early stages, the less you get respected in this entertainment business. But this is majority of a black film, if you think about it,
that's true.
and it's darker colors. I mean, we could do a whole new episode about the color of someone, like in reference to a light skinned person, dark skinned person, anything like that. But I just feel like Lean on Me didn't get that love because this was majority
Predominantly
black.
black.
You know what I mean? So I mean that's what I feel. It's my opinion. So.
And then for our viewers, I do have a colorism episode coming out. I will film that in a little bit, and I can discuss later what films and TV shows I felt discuss colorism in the industry. But yeah, I do agree. Maybe you're right. Maybe because it was an all black film, it's not getting the love that it should have deserved. Now, here's some trivia from IMDb.com. Real life students and teacher appeared as extras. Morgan Freeman spent time with the real Joe Clark to copy his mannerisms and sayings for several weeks. And Sidney Poitier was the first choice but declined due to Clark's politics. Bill Cosby was next, but the energy level was too low. Eddie Murphy was next, but his contract with Paramount prevented him. Danny Glover couldn't do it because the sequel to Lethal Weapon. And then it went to Freeman because he won the Obie for Driving Miss Daisy on Broadway. Now, did you know any of that information?
I didn't know any of that. I
Isn't
could
it
see.
surprising?
I was definitely surprised. I mean, I could see Sidney Poitier or Bill Cosby, but Eddie Murphy. This movie,
Right.
this movie would have took a whole different direction if Eddie Murphy was in this movie. Like, let's be honest.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I didn't,
Because
I never knew that. Wow.
exactly because at this time in '89, Eddie Murphy was already on SNL, and he had just probably did another 48 hours. So to do that switch from comedy to this drama would have been completely different.
Yep.
So yeah. But it's interesting, and this I wanted for the viewers. I did work in Hollywood a lot, and I worked in a worked for a production company, and they do this. They start off very high, depending on the budget, and they kind of trickle down on levels. So they started off with Sidney Poitier, which is like a pretty hard A list to get, and then you kind of go down the list. You make your list of who you would want next. But yeah, and that's what you do. You contact the agencies to see are you available, what's going on, and so forth. And then moving on to the next trivia, the real Joe Clark passed away just 2 weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
December 29th, 2020. So yeah, he was what 82. So yeah, and going straight into this, I love this movie so much that here are the topics that it discussed. It discussed classism because it showed the decline of East Side High after he left. It discussed race. It discussed pregnancy in high school. It discussed the citizens being on welfare, drugs, taking them like such the crack epidemic and distributing them. Education is obviously the focus of the film. The low test scores, and I like how they talk about the lack of black male teachers, and then the politics. The mayor. He just wants to get reelected, and then voting Clark out to transfer him from the predominantly white school to the high school to the middle school, and then voting him out completely, losing his job for him to no longer be principal. So, what do you think of the plot points in this film?
I mean, they touched on a lot of things that go on in high school and really till this day. I mean, as you know, I on the side am a football coach for high school football coach, and I see a lot of this stuff going on now, and
Mm,
it's amazing how much this film meant to shine a light on those type of situations that are going on in the lowly funded areas in those inner cities. And it was just like it was eye opening at the time. I mean, I was a kid when this came out or whatever, but me
I think
seeing
we
it,
are five. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, yeah, me seeing it, I probably didn't honestly see it until I was maybe 8, 9 years old.
Mm,
But
mm-hmm.
it it just opened my eyes. Like, wow, is that how it really is? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's going on? Because we're not thinking about high school and stuff like that at that age. But I mean, it hit a lot of topics and it hit home because you go through pregnancies, you go through racist teachers that,
Mm.
that that purposely hold these kids back because of who they are. Drugs all throughout the school, everything that this it was amazing just to shine a light on those type of things at that time.
And then to touch on that, where me and Rove did go to the same high school, it wasn't like this. It was predominantly black, and I guess you would call us more middle class or upper middle class, but it didn't look like the hallways of this way. And it wasn't. I guess this because it's a movie, it's a little bit more amplified. Doesn't mean that other high schools don't experience this, but it's more covert. And so but yeah, they really up this. I wanted to, I thought it was very interesting at this scene of the security guard just walking by reading the paper, all these things that went down in the opening scene, when you first see Eastside High after 20 years later, and he's just minding his business, not giving a care in the world, and which is interesting.
Just
um
that paycheck. That's all you're there for.
yeah, just get a paycheck. I do like how this is the test scores. The At 33%, you need 75% to pass it. And they said in the movie the year prior was at 38%, so it got even worse. And then there's colorism here because you see all the dark skinned girls bullying and beating up on the light skinned girl. You got the guns here, buying guns. You got the drugs. This older gentleman in a nice suit coming into the school to sell the drugs, and then the disrespect of the teachers. I thought it was interesting that they beat up on the white teacher instead of a minority teacher. So I thought that was interesting.
What
But
is it?
I do like that they they showed how caring the principal and the teachers are. So what were your thoughts of the shots that I just mentioned?
The shot that you just mentioned that stood out to me is the one to the bottom left where the darker colored women are beating up on the lighter colored women, and then
Mm-hmm.
to the far right where the black young men are beating up on the white teacher. I mean,
Yeah.
we could take this to a whole another realm of things, but I mean, for that, I mean, it bothered me kind of because
Mm.
I mean, you don't. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, some kids do get a little out of hand and stuff like that, but to that extent, at that point, when they got the teachers, look how he got his hand on his head, holding him down. Come on now,
Yeah.
like, come on.
Grabbing his hair. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I just feel like it's just so much more to. There's just so much more to it. And I'm not. I mean, we like I said, we'll be talking for hours, and it won't even be about Morgan Freeman. It'll be about just what they were trying to display in this movie. But
Exactly. And then I'm going to quickly go over this. It is based on a true story. And then at the ending, it was about 20 years ago. Now, the symbolism of this, like I said, this is when you first see it. It's predominantly white. The 20 years later, it's predominantly black. But you see Joe. When they transfer him to um, another white middle school. And so they're like, well, because they voted him out just so they could get more money, and so he got screwed over as a magical Negro. I think that's when it began. Because to me, you'll see that my analysis that he is just Mr. Magical Negro in this. So he's very sacrificial. Um, you got the little racist jokes. You got the Jewish lawyer saying, "Oh, I thought your people didn't like change." We got the racism, like as you discussed, the racist teachers. I caught it too. I caught this is the if you look at oh my if you look at her, this is the meeting when Clark first comes in and have a teachers meeting. This is her look when she says, write down every drug dealer, drug user, or miscreant that caused this school to go into shambles. She dropped her pencil and gave this look. And then when he confronts her later on, so I also want to point out the it's not lost on me on the color of their outfits. Green with envy. She's wearing green both times.
mhm.
She he goes in there to talk to her about what the school school song, and she like brushes him off. And that's when he gets upset. Like, who do you know who do you know who I am? I don't think she would, and I agree with him. Yes, it was over the top for the acting, but I agree with them only because she never would have done this if this were a white principal. She never would have said it. She never would have brushed him off. She would have been like, "Yes, sir, whatever you need," or whatever. So that's the racism behind it. Because other people would have saw this like, "Wow, he just fired her on the spot and he's overreacting." I'm like, no, there's no way she would have talked to him had he been a different ethnicity. So what are your thoughts on all of this?
I mean, I agree with everything you just said. It's like who is he to like be over me, or I'm not gonna listen to him. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
and that's what she gave off. Because I don't care if he's the principal. I don't care if he's above me. I'm not gonna listen to this black guy tell me what to do and all this other stuff. I mean, that's just how the tone was between white and black in a lot of this film.
Mm-hmm.
Freeman, I love. I mean, like you said, it was a little over the top, but I love the authoritative manner in which he displayed when he, what I'm saying, stood up to those people, stood
Yeah.
up to the white people, stood up to him. He didn't back down for anything. And I love that.
No fear. No fear. And that's what I loved about it. Now, I love the acting in this. The acting was so strong in this, all the way around. You saw Clark get on top of that table and really go there. You saw his joy. You saw this is his face when at the meeting because the white teacher, the white vice principal was like, oh well, we did all of this for you. He was like, and he had that look like, I know he is not trying to tell me how to do my job because if you did, I wouldn't be here. I love that. I love Beverly Todd's passionate scene. There's so much passion in this, and there's so much emotion. The mom crying. You have even the. He only had like 3 scenes, but he got in his face. He went there. He was passionate and upset and angry. And then, of course, the "I'm the head nigger in charge." That's the line that Robert said to him, or Dr. Napier said to Joe Clark. And then afterwards, he's like, "Let's go grab something to eat." We can go there. We can go there with each other, and we can curse each other out. But at the end of the day, we don't take it personal. They're friends for 30 years. But yeah, what did you think of the acting from your acting experience?
Outstanding, very outstanding. It's very outstanding, and it just um it ran well with what they were trying to the point that they were trying to come across in the film. Um,
Hmm.
you wanted to see this black man change the lives of many in a school and his trials and tribulations in order to try to accomplish that goal. So you needed strong acting because there were many. It's like a roller coaster of emotions throughout this movie. I mean, he wasn't
Mm-hmm.
one way. He had to be. He had to be the bad guy sometimes. He had to be
Mm-hmm.
the good guy. He had to be proud. He had to. There was so many different emotions that he had to display throughout the movie. And I think like all the actors inside of this movie did a wonderful job displaying those emotions um, and bringing it to life for the audience. Like you said, when he said he was the head nigga in charge, they're fighting and battling. I mean, they both know that okay, this is our job. We got to talk to each other like this because this is our job. We have to. This is what we believe in. But at the end of the day, like you said, we 30 years in together, and that's
Right.
what's going to come between that. And plus, we're both black, so we must stick together. That's the type of attitude I think they took towards it. We must stick together. We're both black, but I mean, we gotta make this work. We're gonna have our ups and downs. We're gonna fight. We're gonna disagree, but we still gonna keep our bond no matter what. And that was great.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I wrote down everything that I liked about it. I love the school spirit of it. I was voted most school spirit at our high school. Um, Going above and beyond. They knew the parents' names. He knew the students' names. He got involved in their lives, going to their house. Great shots, like right here, down here at the bottom right. You have a shadow. And when Clark first re-enters the school after 20 years, you see this long shadow here. I thought a great production design. It was mostly at the school and maybe the apartment and then a few other places, but I thought those were great. They looked very professional. This movie was known for its sayings. the mayor was like, Joe, you need to go out there and get your students. And he was like, the only thing I need to do is stay black and die. And then, of course, head nigga in charge. Those are the two popular sayings in this film. Besides the singing aspect of that, that's what you really know this movie's for.
Mm-hmm.
This movie was so strong in writing, there was no need for a background story. Like Joe Clark had no background story. We never saw his house. We never saw his family. All they had two lines of what happened. Like his wife left him, he has no kids, and he has no personal life. The end. He was always at the school. So that's how strong this movie was. I thought it was great diverse casting. You had Hispanic teachers, you had Hispanic students being passionate, and even they were written very well. They weren't, dumb. They weren't this. They want to be mechanics and law school. It was great. Great emotion and support. One of my biggest, I guess, one of my biggest issues is the fact that when they write black characters, they always only want to show the angry black character. They don't want to show this right here, hugging each other, black men hugging each other, smiling, being there for each other. You just want to show the negativity of it. So I love that aspect of it. And then I love the strong tactics, chaining the doors like this picture right here, kicking out the drug users and dealers. You hide demons of security. You fired and you demoted and you held accountable the teachers. You fired them on the spot. You disrespect me, you're fired. You're not a great football coach, you're demoted. He put them all in the gym and separated them. It's like 70% of you represent how many of our students did not pass that test, the practice exam. And then, of course, the yelling. Those are strong tactics, but it worked. And then, again, showing Clark's range of emotion. He jokes around. He double jump ropes with the students. He's quick to yell at them, the teachers or whatever, when they're not acting right. Kind of militant, but yeah. But I think the vice principal, the black vice principal, she got it the worst. But what were your thoughts? What are the things that you really liked about this film?
Like I said, I mean, the thing that I really, really loved about this film is that the fact that they showed that there was actually a black elder displaying love to the black youth. A
Mm-hmm.
man, because it's rare that you see a black man, showing love to younger men, letting them know it's okay to, I love you. It's okay to hug a black young man. You know what I'm saying? Because they never really displayed that type of emotion. Like, I mean, even when they were making the basic black movies, you never see the father and son hugging, embracing. You know what I'm saying? I love you, son. This, that, and other. But it was always, like you said, angry. You know what I'm saying? And yelling and screaming, and it was always some type of tension. So I love that about this film. I love the fact that they actually show that there are teachers in the black and brown community that actually care about these kids and want to see them go somewhere. You know, I love the fact that they show that these kids have actual dreams, and they aren't all just crackheads. They aren't all just gangbangers. They aren't all just delinquent and troublesome kids. A lot of them have dreams. They just don't have. They don't know how to get on that path. And this film showed me that there is a possibility of an elder or a teacher or a principal that is willing to help them shape their lives in the right direction.
I absolutely agree. Now, with things that I did not like about the film, only two things. I didn't like how they made the black woman the villain. I got where she came from. She started off as a concern with his tactics, like chaining the doors, but it then went kind of to ego because she was very headstrong. Like, I need to get this man out of here. I want him fired. And then, we have no backstory on her. We don't even know who her kid is. She never interacts with any of the students until the end of the film. So it switches from, I'm really concerned about these kids, but you have no scenes with these kids. So that bothered me. And then I wanted more follow up. What happened to the kids afterwards? Like this kid right here, he dropped out. So yeah, I think that. And then but going back to what I did like the full circle. I like how they start off with this scene how she spitballs to Sam's and then she helps him out. I just want to throw that back in there because I forgot that part. So what didn't you like about this movie?
I mean, I didn't like the over the top cliches. Like, I mean,
Mm,
like the gangbangers were really like over the top. Like, it was strong acting in the film, but it was also a little over the top. Like when it came to those type of those characters. But honestly, it wasn't too much I didn't like. Honestly, about this film. I mean, it's just. I mean, at the time, it's 1989. You got to remember the time. So
mm.
the language and the way they spoke to each other, that was relevant. But I I mean, if I wanna be an asshole, I can say, oh, I'm sorry. Can we curse? We can curse.
Yeah, I've been cursing this whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If if I want to be an asshole, I could say, okay, four black kids in the bathroom singing. Nah, I don't think black boys be in the bathroom singing. But I mean, that's just me being an asshole. I really like this movie. You know what I'm saying, for what it was at the time.
To counter that, they address that in the film because they work on music. That's why Joe was like, Sam, what are you doing with these singers? Like, why are you with them? He's like, oh, that's my cousin, and we're working on some music. Like, oh, if you're working on some music, then you should know the school song. So that's why they were singing in the bathroom.
Yeah,
Because Joe said, like, I will stop you anytime, any place, and if I stop you, you need to know the school song. And then Sam, they were ditching class, so that's why Sam's trying to save them, but Joe was like, no, you're ditching class. I know what you're doing. So that's the defend this scene. That's all I'm gonna say. But to rate this a 5, I'll give it a 10. I love it. Those are the only two things I like about it. But for my cherry colas, that's how I rank this. If you're new to my podcast, I rank my cherry colas 1 to 5, and because that's the drink I get every time I go to the movie theater. So, Ro, what did you rank this out of 5?
out of five, I rank it a five. And it has ice,
Yeah.
it has a cherry on top, and it has the straw. Morgan Freeman, great performance, great performance. This is actually one of the first movies I've ever watched with him being a lead. So I mean,
Mm,
I really loved it. It really caught my attention and it stayed with me throughout my life.
agreed. Same. I can watch this a million times. Uh, moving on to thriller category 7. So, Seven is written by Andrew Walker, directed by David Fincher, came out in 1995. So, this is after Lean on Me. All these films will go in order, so chronological order. Stars Morgan Freeman, Brad Pitt, and Gwyneth Paltrow. Cameos by Kevin Spacey and Richard Roundtree. He only had like 2 scenes, but whatever. It was nominated for an Oscar, and that was for Best Film Editing. And I agree that it was amazing editing. Had 29 wins and 42 nominations. So do you agree with the awards that it got nominated for?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I agree with everything. Yeah, we'll get to it later, but yeah, I agree with the awards and everything that it got. It was a great film.
Okay. As far as trivia goes, this is from IMDb. New Line executives that produced the movie originally balked at the film's ending, but Brad Pitt refused to make the film if it was changed. The filmmakers decided it should always be raining for 2 reasons. It added a sense of dread, and they never had to worry about bad weather. And then when Mills lists motives that killers give, Mills is Morgan Freeman's character. One of them is Jodie Foster's told me to do it. John Hinckley Jr., who was obsessed with Jodie Foster, attempted to assassinate President Ronald Reagan on March 30th, 1981, in order to impress her. Mills also says, my dog told me to do it. David Berkowitz, aka the Son of Sam, a serial killer who terrorized New York City in the summers of 76 and 77, claimed that his neighbor's dog was possessed and told him to commit murder. So it's a little bit of truth. That's what I do like about films. Like adding a little bit of truth into the film makes it even more interesting. As far as cinematography goes, because this is mainly focused on Morgan Freeman, his character was kind of drab. You got the mono. I forgot what this is called. This is the monochrome where it's ticking. They use that in music to keep time, and that helps him to fall asleep and so forth. He has the detective look, the classic detective coat. A tan coat, suit, hat, and everything. And then, he's reading in bed, very quiet, very somber. I just like the coloring. They focus on yellow a lot, yellows and browns. I like the coloring of that. But in the end, I like how smart he is, and I like that he's helpful. But to me, all of that just reads magical Negro. He has no backstory, no family, no kids. His wife left him. He's only there to help Gwyneth Paltrow, who had like three scenes. He's smart, does all the work. He's the one who's going to the library late. He's the one who's reading, doing the research, photocopying stuff. So to me, that just reads magical Negro. What are your thoughts on Morgan Freeman's character in this film?
I mean, you said it all. I mean, I can't disagree with anything you said about it when it comes to terms of Magical Negro. I mean, it definitely gives you that type of feel. I mean, he was the specialist, I guess, that came in to help them solve something that they couldn't solve or get the answers to. So, I mean,
Right, he didn't want to do it. He was actually retired. Then they said that they're like, "Oh, well, I can't wait till you leave in 7 days." Like, because we're kind of tired of you. We're over you. He didn't get special thanks. He didn't get any awards. Usually in cop films, detective films, they reward you like, "Hey, everyone, congratulations. Let's give a round of applause to Detective XYZ." But they didn't even solve the case. The case wasn't even solved. So yeah, to me that is just this magical Negro. Um, this is everything that he did. He wrote a letter out for his partner saying, "You should research these books." And it's Dante's Purgatory, the Canterbury Tales, the Parson Tale, and the Dictionary of Catholicism. And then here he is tracking down, connecting the dots of the murders being the seven sins. Yeah, the killer said it, but it was Morgan Freeman who figured that all out. I don't like he risked his career because he reached out to the FBI agent to get the library the list before the Patriot Act in 2001, the Patriot Act of getting all the people who checked out certain books through the library. He risked his career for that. It was illegal. And then he was the one who had to find out, spoiler alert, he had to find out Brad Pitt's wife's head was in the box. They gave it to Morgan Freeman, not even Brad Pitt. And then he had to calm down Brad Pitt. Like, come on. That upset me.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
do you have anything to add about any of that I've discussed?
Yeah, you hitting it on the head with this one. Like it was like he was the lead, but in this film, I felt as watching it, I didn't feel like he was the lead. Did you? Did you feel like
No. No,
I
I
didn't
felt like
feel like
Brad Pitt was the lead.
that's what I'm saying? But it was like, but he was needed so much. Like he was the glue. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
To everything. But I just didn't feel that in the movie, man. And it's like, okay, like we said with the heads, why would he get that? Why would he get
Right.
that instead of Brad Pitt? I don't know, man. I mean,
Why did he have to calm down? Like the only thing they really gave Brad Pitt a personality in this because he was kind of this sexist, homophobic type of character. He's the husband who loves his dogs or whatever. They gave him so much nuance, and they did the exact opposite. Like it was like Morgan Freeman was a supporting role, and we're all just focusing on Brad Pitt because it was Brad Pitt running through the apartment, shooting down the killer and almost dying and getting all this other good stuff because he's younger. But at the end of the day, he had no Morgan Freeman had no personality, so that really upset me. Um, let's see. Now, I do like the editing shots. I like, this is because you and I both did villains. This is that Joker shot.
yeah, yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's the Joker shot. I like just like right here. This is an example of how the killer showed that it was like the seven deadly sins is like greed, and it's over the head, not over the above shots, and then and just like the close up of the writing. This is the books you need to check out, and then the below shot of Kevin Spacey. Spoiler alert: he's the killer. This is why they didn't solve it. He turned himself in. I'm like, okay, well, that was a waste of a 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
I like how it edited. It went straight from here because what this shot was, it's kind of hard to get at this angle because you got a really close up of the gun of the barrel, but you still blurred out everything. To can't even see his face or if it's even a he. And then you go straight to Brad Pitt. So I love that. Do you have anything to add about the editing or the shots in this film?
No, I love the angles. I love the colors. I love the darkness in the scenes. It was good. It was good. It was all the editing shots. I mean, even with the the board, I think that the light shines on, in their terms, the major sins of the seven deadly sins in my eyes.
Mm,
At the bottom of
mm,
it, I mean, it's not really, it's shaded. It's not, they could have made that whole board bright, but they
mm.
highlighted the top parts of the scene, if you know what I'm saying. But besides that, I mean, I liked it. It was a dark movie. It was a dark film, so they kept it in that type of respect.
Yeah, I really respect that. So I wrote down what I liked and what I didn't like. I liked that it was dark throughout the film. It shows consistency and continuity. And I thought it was filmed in New York, but actually they're trying to say it was L.A., which threw me off. I'm like, I didn't see any palm trees, like everything. And then like now I get it because with L.A. it's so spread out. It would have had to been downtown L.A. because that's the only quote unquote city feel that has all those tall buildings and no nature. So it would have been filmed downtown LA. That's the only New York esque type feel.
Hmm.
I liked the concept. It was unique, a killer killing someone off of the seven deadly sins. And I like how there was creative problem solving because the production design of it was immaculate. It looked like they spent a lot of money on this just to get the look and the feel of it. Yeah. And then what did you like about it before I go into what I didn't like about it?
I liked about, oh, well, I liked the mystery of it. And like
Mm,
honestly, at the time when it came out, I ain't gonna lie to you, I was kind of scared to watch this movie
mm.
because it was tied into the Bible and God and the seven
Oh,
sins and stuff like that. And then like it kind of bothered me for some reason. But when I did get the courage to watch it, I mean, I like how they put the things together, and I like the fact that it was just a murder mystery. You know, like
mm,
at its core, it's a murder mystery, and they were going through the situations of trying to find the killer or whatever. But besides that, I mean, yeah, it was pretty good. I mean, the visuals were great. Like I said, it just well, we'll talk about the likes. But yeah, that's what I liked about it. I'm sorry.
so you did see this before we did this episode. So you saw this year because this was the first time I ever saw this. So
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, I saw it years ago, man, but I was afraid as a child to
Okay.
watch it. Like I had a problem as a child, like when it came to like God and stuff like that, and people killing
Hmm.
people and like that. Like I was a little nervous to watch that. So I mean, that was it. But it was good though. It was cool.
Okay. And then what I didn't like I said, Freeman did all the work. He had no thanks. He sacrificed a lot, and that's the beginning of his magical Negro stuff. So what didn't you like about this film?
I didn't like how the film. He's not the lead, but he's needed so much. But
Mm-hmm.
it's like it wasn't really appreciated in the film. If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Uh,
No thanks. Yeah.
yeah, right, exactly. So I didn't like that, and I didn't like the fact that it was just he was that glue, but when the important stuff was kind of happening and like going down, he wasn't really the um the focus. If you get what I'm saying,
Mm,
he wasn't really the
yeah.
focus, and I didn't really like that. So
Perfect. Now, to rank it, I gave it a 3.5. I thought it was above average. It wasn't just average. It wasn't just plain. I mean, I liked the production design. I liked the character growth of Brad Pitt because he's the anger of it. I do like that plot twist, and then killing the wife and whatnot. So yeah, I gave it a 3.5. What did you give this?
I would say the same 3.5. It wasn't a great movie. It wasn't a horrible movie. You know, it was just a movie. It was good, but it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my God, outstanding. So 3 point
Exactly.
3.5 is about fair for it.
Perfect. Perfect. Moving on to our next one, comedy, The Bucket List. I was actually disappointed in this film. Highly disappointed. I waited so long to see this film, couldn't wait to see it, and then when I picked this film and I saw it, I'm like, blah. But going into this is written by Justin Zakim, directed by Rob Reiner. That was another reason I'm excited. I didn't even know it was Rob Reiner's film, but Rob Reiner is just great. He did When Harry Met Sally, which is one of my favorite films, but whatever. Came out in 2007. Stars Morgan Freeman, Jack Nicholson, Beverly Todd, which yep is a tie-in to Lean on Me. This is her right here, down here. And then Sean Hayes from, if you guys watch Will and Grace, that's Jack from Will and Grace. The major awards was didn't get many, but it got nominated for a Grammy for John Mayer's Say. That surprised me. So it had 4 nominations and 3 wins. Now, trivia. Jack Nicholson's own experience in the hospital just prior to filming inspired some of the dialogue and acting for the movie. For example, the mirrored glasses scene in the film, right here, you can see that, was not in the script, but Nicholson obtained them in the hospital and brought them to set. And then Rob Reiner decided to include them in the film. Morgan Freeman's real life son, Alfonso Freeman, plays his son in the movie. That's him right here, upper right hand corner. He wears a blue shirt. And then the Kopi Luwak is indeed the most expensive coffee in the world, priced at 120 to 600 per pound. Pounds is British, UK currency. Its production is very slow due to the animal stage, which they talk about in the film, the cat shitting it out. Yeah. The beans came from the coffee berries, which have been eaten by passed through the digestive tract of the Asian palm civet, which is disgusting. Which is up here. They try to fancy it up, you know. And then I thought it was interesting is Carter, which is Morgan Freeman's character, is a mechanic. And in real life, Morgan Freeman was a mechanic in the U.S. Air Force. So I thought that was very interesting. Did you know any of this information?
I did not know about the Morgan Freeman being a mechanic in the Air Force. I also didn't know that was his son, because honestly, I didn't pay too much attention to this film when it came out. I mean, I'm just being real with you. I mean, I watched it and everything, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I knew about that. Coffee is disgusting.
I know. I saw that on a video on Facebook before I saw the film. Like, this is the first time I saw the film. I just watched it last night. So I saw the video of the cat shit thing before I saw the film. So I'm like, oh yeah. But it's still popular. Right. Now, as far as this film goes, I could tell this they had a high budget because this was beautifully shot. You know, you got the mountains, you got the fancy food, you got the hospital shot, you got the nice, interesting shots, and whatever. I knew that there was a high budget to this. You could tell because, like, look at this. Like, this is all their kind of hijinks. The skydiving, the race cars, going to different countries. I think this was Greece. I couldn't remember where they said this was. Like the beautiful shots here, in Africa, like the tents, the bed inside the tents. You know, going to Egypt, being on top of the pyramid. This I can't remember if this was in India or not. And then going on the mountains. Oh wait, let me go back. Going on the mountains. And then going to Hong Kong. Like, these are all the bucket list items, or most of them, which were places. So I could tell it was they went a lot of places, or at least did a lot of CGI of the places. But I'm disappointed in the fact that their bucket list was about places instead of experiences. So what were your thoughts about the bucket list items? Were you disappointed, or you were just okay with it?
Well, I was cool with it. I mean, because some of them were kind of funny, and like some of them were. I mean, if you think about it, like skydiving, stuff like that, right? Race car driving, those are experiences. I mean, just exhilarating experiences and stuff like that. But it is a lot of different locations and locales they want to see. But you got to remember, in the film, I mean, these are things that they never experienced. So they wanted to go through the things that they never experienced, what the character never experienced. So going on traveling around the world may have been. I mean, a lot of people love traveling around the world. You know what I mean? And they want to see what it's like to live or be in a different country and the habits and the way of other people live. So I don't see anything wrong with it. Yeah, honestly, I don't see anything wrong with it when it comes to
I,
bucket.
I feel I feel it's unrealistic, because Jack Nicholson's like basically a billionaire, and so you can't. And he talks about Oprah. He talks about all these celebrities and dining with presidents and royalty. He's already traveled the world, so most of this had to been from Morgan Freeman, but they still didn't give Morgan Freeman like much of a backstory or whatever. They gave him like, well, he's a mechanic and a family man. That's about it. But all of this was Jack Nicholson based. So you can't tell me that Jack Nicholson has never been to any of these places. Like he has to. He's a billionaire. Like, come on. That's why I'm like, okay, whatever.
So you think that it was more based on Nicholson being a savior to Morgan Freeman and giving him what he wants before he moves on to the afterlife.
Yeah, absolutely. Because even look at this scene right here. I switched slides, but he's in a expensive robe overlooking the city. I don't remember if this was L.A. because they tried to drop him off in Crenshaw. You got beautiful models here. You can't tell me he didn't live this life. Like, come on. He's this white savior, and then to go into it, and then he gets upset when Morgan Freeman tries to be his savior. It's like, how dare you try to get me back together with my daughter? Like, what?
And
Like, okay.
that has a lot of meaning to it too, though, if you think about it, because all of in Jack Nicholson's mind, bucket list means, oh, go do this, spend this money, all this extravagant things. But in Morgan Freeman's mind, a bucket list could be repairing a relationship, something that doesn't cost a dime,
Mm.
something that's more internal than external and materialistic.
And that's an interesting take on it too. I think would have given this movie a little bit more nuance would have been they switched roles.
Mm.
If Morgan Freeman wasn't the traditional black, you know, working class, and he would have owned the hospital. I would have liked to have seen that.
Mm.
That would have been a little bit interesting, but I guess it still would have been a savior role.
Right.
Whatever. To go for what I liked, I already discussed. I thought it was beautifully shot. I liked that they were buried together,
Mm.
and I liked it was because it was beautifully shot. They had a high budget for this. I looked it up, $45 million budget.
Mm.
Um, I thought that was pretty cool. I liked that with the car scene, like he drove his dream car. I think it would have been better if he would have just given him a dream car, but whatever. Um, I also think that it wouldn't surprise me if this little girl really was Jack Nicholson's relative. Like the eyebrows kind of get to me, but
Mm. Yes,
he
yes.
kind of looks. She kind of looks like him.
Mm.
What else did you like about this film?
I just like the witty banter between the two, and just like the chemistry that they had. It was pretty good. Um, but besides that, I mean, wasn't really too much to like that grasped me. You know what I mean? It was just a movie to watch. It wasn't nothing that like, oh man, this movie was great. Uh,
Exactly.
yeah.
And that's my dislikes. I thought it was boring. It took me 2 days to get through this film. I was
Oh,
disappointed. It had lack of a storyline. It had lack of background. I think it didn't have much of a banter or comedic. It wasn't funny to me. Like I'm expecting with these type of scenarios, like if we're skydiving, I'm thinking of something funny would happen. Maybe they may shit his pants or something crazy would happen. I didn't get that. I don't. I wanted a slapstick comedy, especially with Sean Hayes. Sean Hayes is very animated in Will and Grace, and he was the complete opposite of that. He could have even added on to that. So I was
right.
highly disappointed in that. I didn't even know he was in this film, but he could have added a little bit more, zhuzh to it. The Adventures for Cliche, going skydiving, that's on everyone's list. Rock climbing, mountain climbing, that's on everyone's list. I hated that Morgan Freeman died and that he was the narrator, which clues you into him dying. So to go into my magical Negro trope, so being sacrificial. But yeah, what didn't you like about this film?
Like you said, it was boring. It was unrealistic when it came in the terms of just like the things that they did at their age, um, and their health. Um,
Mm.
I mean, I just don't like it. I mean, I didn't like the fact that this people gonna think I'm racist. I'm not racist at all. Everybody, please believe me. I just don't like the fact that this white man is coming in and show a different world to this black man that wasn't able
There's
to
black mechanic. Yeah.
say right. You know what I mean? So, but besides that, I mean, yeah, it was it was slow. It was extremely slow. So,
Exactly. So yeah. I gave it a 3. It wasn't bad. It wasn't because I'll give it more points for it being beautifully shot, but I gave it a 3. Maybe I might knock it down to a 2.5. So what do you give this?
yeah, I give it a 2. It was like you said when it comes to showing the travel and like the different locations that they were at. They did a good job at trying to at displaying that. But besides that, I mean, the basis of the movie didn't hold any weight, so I give it a 2.
Exactly. There were no emotions. Like the most emotional part came from Jack Nicholson with the daughter scene. But we saw how passionate Morgan Freeman could get in Lean on Me. So where is this passion when you're about to die? Where is this?
Yeah, you're right.
Mm.
But yeah, you know what, and you should probably kick my ass for this because the movie we should have did for comedy is Going in Style. You
Hmm.
have you seen that one?
No, I don't think I have.
Go check that. That movie was fucking hilarious. Excuse my language, and I forgot about it. I completely forgot about that movie. I'm sorry.
I wanted to do this movie because I've never seen it before. It has been on my bucket list of films. So yeah. So now that I've seen it, I'm upset at myself. But moving on to action. Red. Um, I love the film, but magical Negro character. We'll get into that in a second. Directed by Robert Straczynski. I said that wrong. It's a graphic novel, or at least it's based on the comics, but it's off of DC Comics. Um, it came out in 2010. It stars Bruce Willis, Dame Helen Mirren, John Malkovich, and Morgan Freeman with Mary Louise Parker. It had 4 wins, 18 nominations, including a Golden Globe for Best Comedy and Musical, which I agree with. That is really good. Um, for trivia, Dame Helen Mirren had to learn how to shoot a gun without blinking so as it to look more of an experienced killer. Blinking was one of the main reasons why the stars in the Matrix trilogy wore sunglasses to match their involuntary reactions. So that's interesting. During filming in Toronto, Canada, the police received several phone calls about gunfire from local residents who mistook the movie's gunshot effects for the real thing. So, as a film person, typically you're supposed to get a film permit. And with the film permit, you have to go to the local neighborhood and because in LA, with film, you go to film LA and you will tell the residents that you're going to be filming. So I'm surprised they didn't do that. So yeah, you have to tell the local residents like, hey, we're going to be filming. You can't drive through here. There's going to be gunfire, just to let them know to avoid the police calls. Joe's Morgan Freeman's fake African dictator character is driven in a Mercedes 600 Pullman limousine, which is a favorite of world leaders, which I didn't know that. Communist leaders. I never knew that. But you've worked on cars before. Like, have you ever worked on a Mercedes 600 Pullman limousine?
Never, never. I've never
Never.
worked in limousine at all. So,
Really?
you know, in the location that we were at in Hazel Crest, we didn't get those type of vehicles a lot. So,
No dictators, not yet. But would you ever drive this when you make it big? Would you ever drive that type of limousine?
no, I'm not that type of guy.
Not that type of guy.
Yeah, I'm a regular guy. You know me, Stephanie. I'm not no flashy guy.
Flashy,
You know,
yeah.
I'm low key with it. You know.
Now, this is going to be short, only because I watched this film on a DVD, and you can't take screenshots on a DVD, and I didn't want to keep taking pictures on my camera phone, so the only picture I have is Morgan Freeman as a dictator. Doesn't matter because he was the magical Negro, and like, let's see, he calls him this is how he's the magical Negro. He calls him the favorites for Frank, which is Bruce Willis's character. He dies for him. He's the only main lead character, A-list character who dies, including the sequel. Extremely limited backstory, limited personality. He wasn't quirky. He wasn't funny. He wasn't funny like Helen was. He wasn't quirky like John Malkovich was. He didn't have a unique killing style like Bruce Willis. He was just there. So this is the ultimate magical Negro. And what upsets me is that I chose it. I had a hard time choosing films for Morgan Freeman where he wasn't a magical Negro. I didn't want to do Bruce Almighty. I didn't want to do Driving Miss Daisy. I'm like, what the hell? Why are you always the sub character, non character? So for you, what did you think? I know you liked the film Red, but what did you think of Morgan Freeman's character? Because that's the focus of today.
Yeah, it's like you said. I mean, it was just it was so limited. You know what I mean? But he was a key part to get to point A, get from point A to point B. You know what I mean? So, I mean, but like you said, it was no. He did. They didn't give him space to create as much as I would have liked in this movie. But it's like I don't know, man. I mean, I just it was just like you say. He was like he was in and he was out. I mean, and
Literally.
like they used him for whatever they needed to get to a certain point in the film, and then they got rid of him. You know what I mean? So,
Right, they faked his death twice. The first time they thought he was dead,
mhm.
and then he comes back later to die. Like,
Right,
come on. Like,
right.
ugh. But overall, the film is very good. I can even give it a 4.5. But what they did to Morgan Freeman, that knocks it down severely for me. I even watched the sequel, which I was disappointed in the sequel, but that's a different time, different story. Um, I would have liked Morgan Freeman to be Bruce Willis's character, but maybe Morgan was just too much older than that. But I would have liked to see that. And then I'm upset that because I never saw this film either. So I would have probably chosen a different film. I think I would have either done him as a detective in Along Came a Spider or Kiss the Girls. Some action film, but what do you rank it out
I,
of five?
I give it for the film in total. I give it 4. I like the film. I mean, I liked it, but in the regards of actual Morgan Freeman, I mean, it's not going to hold weight if we're discussing the greatness, which is Morgan Freeman. You know, so, but it was a
Right,
good film, overall film. I liked it. You know what I mean, for what it was.
exactly. But yeah, um, I want to thank you, Ro, for another great episode of Recast. Uh, Ro is again a SAG actor, so it was great to have him do this Morgan Freeman episode to get his expertise on all of this. Uh, like I said, I didn't see 3 of the 4 films, so it's interesting to see his evolution and how he really just chooses sacrificial characters. So, Ro, do you have any lasting words on this episode on Morgan Freeman?
No, I mean he's a. I love Morgan Freeman. Um, in my opinion, has as the older he got, has become a great supporting actor for whatever
Supporting
thing.
actor,
Yeah, but
right?
I love him though. You know, he's worth so much more.
And it's funny you just said a supporting actor to the point where he even is a narrator. He's always, like I said, a narrator or God or whatnot. So his voice is very powerful, but it's still this magical random Negro. But yeah, that's all I want to give it. Audience, thank you for tuning in. I hope if you feel differently, please let me know. But you guys have a good evening. And you can catch this episode on housesellentertainment.com or our House Sell app, which will also be on Spotify, iTunes, and other major networks. You guys have a good evening and have a good day. Thank you.
Peace.